everyone. It's an honor for me to be here today. I remember last year coming to this event, didn't know what was going to be happening. There was a lot going on. There's even more going on this year, so thank you, Dr. Walker, Shalonda, and Cassandra. You've done an outstanding job. But today, I am here because I am going to introduce to you, and as they say, introduce to you, and some of you may already know them, Chicago West Community Music Center. Chicago West Community Music Center began in 1999 wanted to see an ongoing improvement in the economic, intellectual, and social condition of the West Side communities within and nearby Chicago through education and training in the arts. Howard, who is the founder, to my left here, is a seasoned educator, arranger, producer, recording artist, and music educator. He is the co-founder of Chicago West Community Music Center. Darlene, I know Darlene is here also, is married to Howard, and she is an experienced educator, administrator, and community leader. Both of them are passionate about introducing and enhancing the role of music education for youth who have little or no access to the arts. They do this through a number of programs. One of their programs is WISH, which is the West Side Instructional String and Harp program. And the great thing about this program, it trains and educates little kids all the way up to adults. And part of the requirement is that the parents learn along with their children. So they have a chance to practice when they are at home. When they return for a lesson, you can see the improvement because mom and dad are also learning. The next program that they also have done very well with is the business of music. The arts are a business, and it's important for our young people to know that when you decide to go into the art field, you have to be have a really good understanding of what you need to do, and that includes commissions, taxes, working with agents and managers. So this program helps to make sure that they have that understanding and that they're going to be successful when they go out into the world. And then another program that I think is absolutely phenomenal is the Berkeley Music Initiative. This program started with selecting one organization from the state of Illinois to be part of this program. And the organization that was selected was Chicago West Community Music Center. And what it does is the kids receive music lessons throughout the years. They then have an opportunity to go out to Berkeley in Boston and participate in a 6-week summer camp. If they succeed in that and they continue with their music education, by the time they graduate from high school, they have an opportunity to be selected for a scholarship to Berklee College of Music. They have had exchange programs with France, with China. Ricardo Muti has come out and directed their kids in rehearsals. And today you are going to see, as they are setting up, a program that they introduced to the community last year, James Reese Europe. A lot of you may not know about him, but you're going to find out about him today. And I think you're really going to enjoy this program. I had an opportunity to see the full program last year over at Julian Middle School. And while you're not going to be able to see the entire program, you will have a chance to see a snippet of it. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Howard Sandiford. Thank you.
Thank you for having us. There's a video that we might get a chance to show you of James Reese Europe, but just due to the time constraints and the space, I would much rather focus on the music. You get a chance to hear the music of James Reese Europe. James Reese Europe was a great American, a great musician, a great artist. During the turn of the century, he was what W.E. Du Bois talked about, the talented tenth. He was a trained musician, writer, and was extremely concerned about the advancement of the arts, particularly black arts. He was born in 1881 in Mobile, Alabama. His family moved to Washington, D.C., and as a young man, he and his sister took music lessons in Washington, D.C. Interestingly enough, they lived right in the same neighborhood as the very famous military musician, John Philip Sousa. And interestingly also, I found in research that John Philip Sousa gave a lot of free music lessons to the kids in the community, one of which was probably James E. Shure. By the time he was 21, he moved to New York. He wanted to be part of the very active art scene in New York. There he met with a lot of the other black artists of that day. And what happened, this was really just on the cusp of the great Harlem Renaissance. This was right before the Harlem Renaissance. And so he was involved in writing music for black musicals. He, in fact, one of his best friends was Noble Sissle, who was part of the very famous team, U.B. Blake and Noble Sissle, who also wrote the first black Broadway program, the New York Broadway show. He was very involved in early days of civil rights, if you will. In fact, he created a club called the Clef Club. We're going to do a song called the Clef Club March in a couple of moments, where it was created to create opportunities for black musicians that they were getting paid and treated fairly in the music industry. When the war broke out, World War I, he was recruited by the military to put together an ensemble of fighting men from New York. He was one of the most respected men, black or white, in New York at the time. And they wanted to have soldiers. Many of the black men wanted to fight. They wanted to show that they had every right to defend the country as well. The tragedy, of course, at that time, they would not allow black men to train with the white soldiers. And they were 99% of the time used to do menial tasks, everything from digging holes, building construction sites, and they would not allow them to fight. And so James G. Shure did recruit some of the best, most great musicians as well as fighters who wanted to go to World War I and show that they could defend the country as well. But when it came the time for them to be trained, they would not allow them to train with the white soldiers. So they asked France if they would be willing to train their black soldiers, and France was very excited about having these soldiers come over and train and fight for them and with them. And so on January 1st, 1918, they arrived in Brest, France. And in addition to being these ferocious, famous fighters, they were also, as I said, great musicians. And so when they stepped off the boat, they played the French national anthem, but it was arranged in a way they had never heard before, which was arranged by James E. Shure. It was a combination of jazz and ragtime, and the people went crazy. They loved it. In fact, they couldn't believe that these guys were playing like regular instruments. They thought they were trick instruments because they had never heard music played like that before. And so what happened, once they got there, the Americans had them traveling around to different sites throughout France to encourage the American soldiers who were there to build up morale. But then they also did get a chance to train with the French soldiers. And their group, they became known as the Harlem 369 Hellfighters, because they said that they fought like they were from hell. They couldn't believe how ferocious these soldiers were. And in fact, at the end of the war, every single one of the black soldiers received the highest award the French gave to soldiers. They did. And there's some remarkable stories about just one case in point. there was one of the soldiers was named Henry Johnson from Harlem, and he and a friend of his was put on the front line to protect a certain part of certain land that they were protecting, and they were attacked by the Germans. And reportedly, they fought off about maybe 15, 20 Germans, and in fact, they killed, I think, almost every one of them. And they couldn't believe how these two men had repelled over 20 German soldiers, and it's documented. And so the news got back to America, and he was claimed, he was celebrated when he returned home as an American hero. The tragedy is when he came back to America, even though he was celebrated in Paris, he was not treated very well when he came back to America. They didn't acknowledge it. Not until when President Obama gave him an award posthumously when he was president as a war hero. And it took that many years for him to be recognized. And again, that's just one of the soldiers that not only at the World War I, but other wars as well, showed exemplary service, but was never recognized by it. So in addition to being a great musician, he was a great American. And so the story of James Reese is just a remarkable one, but we like to do some of the music that he arranged. Between 1914 and 1918, he had a really great recording career. He recorded a lot of music, and one of his contemporaries was W.C. Handy, who's always known as the father of the blues. Probably the most famous piece he wrote was, of course, the St. Louis Blues. But this particular song we're getting ready to do now was also a very big hit for James Reese that he arranged, which was written by W.C. Handy. This is the Memphis Blues. remember this was, well, Louis Armstrong was born around 1900, so he was being impressed by this style of music as well. And the instrument, Mr. Isaac, this is Isaac Armstead, a cornet player. Give him a hand, please. Mr. Isaac Armstead. He's playing the cornet, which was very, very popular at the time. That, as music continued on, the trumpet became really the main instrument in terms of a lot of the brass solos, but still used today by some musicians. But at that day, the cornet was the horn, which Louis Armstrong also played. And just in terms of instrumentation, of course, we have a lot of jazz bass players, students today. In that particular time, the tuba was the main instrument for bass. There were still different string ensembles, so they did use upright bass. We wanted to try to make this ensemble as true to the form as possible. Another song that James Reese recorded that was very, very popular was written by a Chicagoan from the Bronzeville area. The name of the song is The Dark Town Strutter's Ball. And interesting story, background of the story very quickly. Darktown, of course, in the south side of Chicago, an area in which he lived, in fact, I won't say predominantly, it was all black. And many times they called it Darktown, affectionately. The Players' Ball, or that's the Players' Ball, Strutter's Ball. It was actually a Players' Ball. And for those who, I think you got an idea what a player was, right? And it was the time they came out and they had a good time. They got dressed up, they came out, they danced, they partied, they had a wonderful time. And that's what he's writing about in this song. We have our vocalist, Mr. Charles Blue Brown. Give Charles a hand, please. With the Darktown Strutter's Ball.
I wanna get there when the band starts playing. And when we get there, honey, 2 steps we gonna have a ball. Dancing right on my shoes. When they play tomorrow night after the downtown Strutter's Ball.
During the mid-19-teens, there was a very, very popular dance couple called the Castles, and they were the rage of the United States and Europe as well. They had very much like Dancing with the Stars today. I mean, they would just do all these very fancy dances. And in fact, they heard James Reese and his group, and they hired them to be their band. And they traveled all over the place doing performances with the Castles. And in fact, James Reese Europe's group became so popular in New York that it was a big deal to have them to play at their society balls. Black folks weren't allowed to go to the balls, but they would hire the band with the Castles to go and perform there. And they were known well renowned as the premier dancers. And again, James Reese Europe's band was the band to be there. This is a song that he wrote before the Castles. It's called The Castle House Rag. What's a Gandhi dancer? Anybody? That's somebody who dances like Gandhi? No? Any ideas, Gandhi dancer? The reason I know the answer to this one is because my grandfather was a Gandhi dancer. Those are the workmen, when they were laying tracks for the trains, the workmen who laid down the rails. That was their job to do that. And I don't know where the name Gandhi dancer came from, but that's what they were called, Gandhi dancers. And this next song, which the band is going to do, has a lot to do with being a Gandhi dancer. When the trains, after they laid the tracks, and the trains were going down the tracks, they would really, and these were pretty much locomotives at the time, they would go very, very fast, and the more steam they gave them, of course, the faster they would go. And the guys who had worked on the trains, on the rails, would tell them to open it up, go as fast as you possibly can. And they came up with a term that was known as ball in the jack. When it was going real fast, they say, man, they're ball in the jack. And so that's the name of the song that they're doing. And of course, interestingly, they made a dance out of it called Ball in the Jack. And our vocalist, Mr. Charles Brown Blues, initially we had to do the dance. Please give me a hand. This is Ball in the Jack.
Tight, then you swing to the left, swing to the right. Grab one foot on the nice and light. Then you twist around, alright. Stretch your loving arms, say out in space. Then you do the eagle rock with style and grace. Put your left foot down and bring it up. That's when I pop the Then twist around all night. Stretch your loving on straight out and slick so you can do it either rock with style and grace. Put your left leg out and make it bring it down. Okay, before we do our last number, I just want to take just a quick minute to introduce the orchestra to you. In fact, I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves. So, under the direction of our arranger, the young man who arranged all of this music, he came to us as I think a sophomore in high school, and he's been back with us now. He's a teacher, professional musician, and arranger. Remarkable young man. Please give a hand to Mr. Jamal Crowder. Jamal Crowder. The wonderfully talented Mr. Charles Blue Brown. And I'm just going to ask the musicians just to stand up and shout their names out. Make sure we get everybody's name correct. I'll start with Mr. Isaac, if you would, please. Name an instrument.
Cornet, trumpet. My name is Isaac Armstead.
Thank you, Mr. Armstead. All right, next. What's up?
I am Andres. This is the trombone. I'm trombone player.
Thank you.
My name is Gerald, and I play too. Harlem player, drums,
Thank you.
Tyrone Hines. I play soprano saxophone.
My name is Elijah Brown. I play the alto saxophone.
Abraham Martinez, tenor sax.
And Lewis, I play the cello.
My name is Miran Choi, I play cello.
Charles Lee, I play the viola.
Jonas viola.
Yesenia Gonzalez, and I play violin. Hello, DeJour Smith, and I'm a violinist. I'm Ian, and I play violin. I'm Raquel Navarro, I play violin.
I'm Reese, and I play violin.
I'm Anna Colia, and I play the flute and the tuba.
Give them all a big hand, please. Thank you, guys. And I want to acknowledge the managing director of Chicago West Community Music Center, Ms. Darley Standiford. Darley, where are you? Please stand up. Darley Standiford. The last piece is called Jazz Ola. As we say, at this period of music was right, a little bit of jazz, a little bit of ragtime, and these are the songs, the songs that influence the generation right behind James E. Stewart, the generation of Duke Ellington, James Johnson, James P. Johnson. A lot of the early greats were influenced by the music, and the music is being continued today by the influence of this and other great musicians. So please enjoy Jazz Zola. Come jazzers gather round, jazz loves from every town. I'll play something that I'd like contribution to. It's true, it's got a funny name that's sure to win its fame. With your kind attention, I will mention its many sounds they call it jazz. It's not for the generation, jazz. It's just a dance for the sake of passion. It's like Jazzoa. Jazzoa.